I've made a lot of videos on wars, friends, but I've never felt it this personal. Because up until yesterday morning, I was in Dubai with my family. And the hotel where an explosion and fire were reported, the Fairmont on Palm Jumeirah, was literally just across the road from our hotel. We left early in the morning to catch our flight. It was an early morning departure, and thankfully our plane took off. Everything felt normal. But around 2 to 3 hours after takeoff, we started hearing about sudden delays and disruptions, and the cabin crew told us that the US and Israel had launched strikes on Iran. At that moment, I didn't fully feel the weight of it. My only thought was, what if our flight path is passing through the same corridor where missiles and drones are being launched, and then we landed? And that's when we realized what was actually happening. By evening, photos and videos surfaced showing major disruption and smoke scenes around Dubai's travel hubs, and reports of evacuations and cancellations across the region. And then the really shocking clips started circulating. Claims of drones being intercepted near Burj Khalifa and missiles being intercepted over Burj Al Arab, followed by debris falling and triggering small fires in different places. What made it even more terrifying was that some of my family members were with me whose flights were scheduled just a few hours later, and unfortunately, they couldn't catch their flights. Their flights were cancelled, and they were stuck at the airport for hours with no clear timeline of when operations would fully normalize or what would happen next. Now, in all of this, one piece of good news is that the UAE's air defense is extremely strong, and this is important. Online, you'll see exaggerated numbers flying around, but UAE official statements have said their air defense forces detected 137 ballistic missiles and 209 drones aimed toward UAE territory. So in many cases where fires were reported, it wasn't necessarily a direct hit. It was falling debris, fragments of missiles or drones coming down after being intercepted. Now, the big question is, why is all this happening? Let's understand the situation clearly. The US and Israel have launched a full-scale military campaign against Iran, described in US reporting as Operation Epic Fury, and it's not being framed as a one-day strike. US officials have indicated this could continue for multiple days. And across Iran, strikes have been reported in major areas, Tehran and beyond, hitting military infrastructure and strategic targets. The most shocking part, reported by multiple outlets, is that Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed in the initial wave of strikes, and Iranian state channels reported national mourning. That is a massive turning point. And alongside that, reports also said multiple senior commanders were hit during the opening phase of the campaign. And President Trump's messaging has been blunt, saying many of the people who make decisions are gone, and reactions inside Iran have been described as divided, some celebrating, others devastated. In response, Iran didn't target only Israel. Retaliatory strikes and attempted strikes have been reported across the Gulf, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, raising the risk for civilian areas as well as military bases. In Doha, attention turned to the US Al Udeid base area, and across the region, airports, ports, and high-profile areas face disruption because when missiles and drones fly, even interceptions can shower debris onto civilian infrastructure. Iran's IRGC also claimed it carried out waves of strikes under what it called Operation True Promise 4. And while some details vary by source, the overall reality is clear. This conflict has spilled into the Gulf's safe zones, and that is why the fear feels so real. And friends, this isn't just geopolitics on a map. This is about people. Imagine this. In these Gulf countries, there are millions of Indians. And across these same cities where interceptions are happening, your relatives, your friends, your co-workers, students, workers, people are living their everyday lives. That's why Indian missions have issued advisories urging people to remain vigilant and avoid unnecessary travel. And in Israel alone, there are reported to be around 18,000 Indians, including students and workers. Meanwhile, large parts of Gulf airspace have faced closures and restrictions. Flights have been cancelled, and thousands of passengers are stranded. But if these strikes expand into a full-scale war, the impact could get much worse, especially for India. Once India imports a huge portion of its crude through the Strait of Hormuz. Recent reporting suggests roughly about half of India's crude volumes, around 2.5 to 2.7 million barrels per day, pass through that choke point.